I could tell you that the line of duty MOS that are on this wall, most people probably don't know the particulars of how they lost their lives tragically. For example, for 20 years I walked past this board. Well, this is actually a new one. This was renovated in 2014. And I didn't know that half of the men on this wall had their weapons taken from them and used against them. So when it comes time for the line of duty memorial ceremonies, I like to really research the officers and what happened to them. So at this time, I'd like to read the narrative of the line of duty death of Patrolman James R. Goodwin of the 34th Precinct on February 15th of 1932. Patrolman James Goodwin was shot and killed when he took off-duty police action during an armed robbery attempt. Ironically, Patrolman James Goodwin would be killed in the same exact location where he had previously engaged armed perpetrators the year before his death, shooting one armed perpetrator and capturing the other armed perpetrator. For his line of duty death date, February 15th of 1932, the details are as follows. On Monday, February 15th, 1932, Patrolman James Goodwin was off duty and in civilian clothes and sitting in the rear of a grocery drugstore owned by Mr. Louis Cransnow, located at 2196 Amsterdam Avenue, New York City, falling on Amsterdam Avenue between West 168 and West 196th Street. Shortly before 11 p.m., three male perpetrators entered and announced a holdup. Patrolman Goodwin drew his service revolver and engaged the three armed perpetrators in a gun battle. The perpetrators then fled the location in a motor vehicle. The proprietor of the establishment, a friend of Patrolman Goodwin, telephoned for help. Patrolman Goodwin was mortally wounded with a gunshot wound to the forehead and subsequently died of his injuries. After fleeing the location of incident, perpetrator Antonio Anthony Lopez was later involved in a dispute with a Mr. Joseph H. Ramagaris at 16 East 113th Street and killed him as well, with the same firearm used to kill Patrolman James Goodwin. Perpetrator Antonio Anthony Lopez, at this time, was a suspect perpetrator in 3 homicides. 2 perpetrators were convicted of the murder of Patrolman James Goodwin and were sentenced to death. 1 perpetrator, Antonio Anthony Lopez, an Argentinian national, confident he would be reprieved before his scheduled execution, told Sing Sing correctional guards, quote, "I'll come up smiling." Antonio Anthony Lopez was executed in the electric chair on May 25th, 1933. Additionally, perpetrator Antonio Lopez, now 26 years of age after being executed, was left unclaimed by family and friends and subsequently buried in a graveyard in Peekskill, New York. Perpetrator Antonio Lopez, while on death row for 6 months, received no visitors, not even his wife or his brother. The other perpetrator, Miguel Rugamo, of 1 Hamilton Avenue, White Plains, New York, was found guilty of murder before Judge Charles C. Knott. Perpetrator Miguel Rugamo was convicted and sentenced to death on December 14th, 1932, would have his death sentence commuted to life in prison on May 31st, 1933 by then New York Governor Herbert Lehman. Perpetrator Miguel Rugamo was released from Sing Sing Prison, now known as Ossining Correctional Facility, on April 1958 and deported to his native Spain. A third perpetrator, Andreas Andrew Garcia Agitios, a 27-year-old Puerto Rican, was later apprehended in Spain, where he fled to after the shooting. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office sent ADA John F. McGowan to Spain with witnesses NYPD Detective Arthur Johnson, draftsman Walter Hunt, and cab driver Americo Puig to prosecute the perpetrator Andreas Andrew Garcia Agitios. This perpetrator was found not guilty by the Spanish courts on August 2nd of 1934. The biographical information of Patrolman James R. Goodwin was assigned to the 34th Precinct at the time of incident, then designated as the 17th Precinct, which is located literally 1 block from here on Wadsworth and 182nd Street. That's the old 34th precinct, which today is a public school, New York City Public School. Patrolman Goodwin's shield number is 13575. At the time of incident, he was 28 years of age. His date of entry into service was July 2nd, 1928. His date of death, February 15th, 1932. Salary, according to city records at time, annually, $1,769. His home address, according to the city record, 1406 Webster Avenue, Bronx, New York. Former home of residence is Hastings-on-the-Hudson, where his father was the mayor. His social status at the time of incident, he was married to Miss Matilda Goodwin. Children, Gloria Goodwin, daughter, 3 years of age, who is pictured in a New York Daily News newspaper article on March 4th, 1932, be on the desk of the New York City Police Commissioner Mulrooney, who his widow Matilda and his daughter are being presented with $100 in gold after his death. At this time, I would like to invite up the 3-4 delegates and the commanding officer of the 34th Precinct, Inspector Nudie Castillo, to make a presentation from the PBA.